welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Do you miss me yet? Do you miss me yet? I'm going to continue to fight right by your side. We will do what we've done right from the beginning, which is to win. We're not starting new parties. You know, they kept saying, he's going to start a brand new party. We have the Republican Party. It's going to unite and be stronger than ever before. I am not starting a new party. Many people have asked, what is Trumpism? A new term being used more and more. I'm hearing that term more and more. I didn't come up with it. It means low taxes and eliminating job-killing regulations, Trumpism. It means strong borders. It means no riots in the streets. It means law enforcement. It means very strong protection for the Second Amendment and the right to keep and bear arms. It means support for the forgotten men and women who have been taken advantage.
Hey, good morning. It's Red Pill 66. How you doing today? I am doing a quick live today because it's Friday, and before I get really busy today, I just thought I'd come on. I've had a few days where I've tried to record, and I just don't like my recordings, so I haven't posted. So today, I think I want to just go over a couple of things, but I just wanted to see if everybody was doing okay on this Friday. And I'm going to give it a few minutes to see if people happen to come in on my live. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, I've been quite busy the past couple of days, trying to get some things done at home and then at work. And then meeting out with some friends. And we've been doing it for quite a few days, and we're all ready for a break. So hopefully today we'll find out whether or not we're all getting a break. And those friends know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to bring up a page from today that, that it's a article that I found in the Epoch Times. It's about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So let me share this with you. Okay. And right here it's showing a home-based primary care pharmacist, Erin Edmonds, logs onto a computer before filling a syringe with an allotted number of doses for the at-home visits for the day at the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, at the VA Hospital, Boston Healthcare System, Jamaica Plain Medical Center in Boston, Mass. On March 4th. Now, I found this article very interesting because you have so many people pushing the vaccines, and now you have U.S. bishops discouraging Catholics from receiving the Johnson & Johnson vaccine if it alters, as vaccine if alternatives available over abortion link. And I find this interesting because they're not going to stop people from doing Moderna and Pfizer, but all of a sudden this one has a link, so this will be interesting. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops released a statement on March 2nd encouraging Catholics to avoid getting the latest adenovirus vector COVID-19 vaccine from Johnson & Johnson if alternatives are available. I don't know why I'm having a hard time reading alternatives, but anyways, I did. In Thursday, a statement from Bishop Kevin Rhodes, a chairman of the conference's committee on doctrine, and Archbishop Joseph F. Newman, chairman of the conference committee on pro-life activities, recommended Catholics get the mRNA vaccine for Pfizer or Moderna over Johnson & Johnson's if possible, because the latter adenovirus vector vaccine, that's a mouthful, was developed with the help of abortion-derived cell lines. Now, I find this funny because the Catholic Church and a bunch of Catholics out there supported Joe Biden, who is a Catholic, and he supports abortions. Unbelievable. Pfizer and Moderna vaccines raised concerns because an abortion-derived cell line was used for testing them, but not in their production. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine, however, was developed, tested, and is produced with abortion-derived cell lines, raising additional moral concerns. Moral concerns from priests that hid pedophile priests that sexually abused boys for many, many, many years, and the possibility that it's still happening. This is why I left the Catholic Church. Johnson & Johnson's cell line comes from an abortion performed in 1985, according to Science. This has prompted criticism from a number of Catholic groups, including the Catholic Archdiocese of New Orleans, who last week urged people to avoid having Johnson & Johnson vaccine, calling it morally compromised. Morally compromised? Who the hell's morally compromised? All right, I'll just finish reading this because I'm going to go somewhere else. The guidance was at odds with the Vatican, which in December declared that it is morally acceptable for Roman Catholics to receive any COVID-19 vaccines, including those based on research that originally used cells derived from aborted fetuses. This makes me wonder if Moderna and Pfizer gave the Catholic Church some money and Johnson & Johnson is not. Food for thought. Pope Francis and his predecessor, Pope Emeritus Benedict, both received COVID-19 vaccines in February. Bishop Rhodes and Archbishop Newman said that when ethically irreproachable COVID-19 vaccines are not available, it is morally acceptable for Catholics to receive vaccines that have used cell lines from aborted fetuses in their research and production processes. However, they urge Catholics to try to choose COVID-19 vaccines with the least connection to abortion-derived cell lines when possible. Therefore, if one has the ability to choose a vaccine, Pfizer or Moderna vaccines should be chosen over Johnson & Johnson's, the bishops continued. While we should continue to insist that pharmaceutical companies stop using abortion derived cell lines, given the worldwide suffering that this pandemic is causing, we affirm again that being vaccinated can be an act of charity that serves the common good, they added. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is the third to be authorized for the use in the United States, and unlike Pfizer's, BioNTech, and Moderna, it only requires one shot. Johnson & Johnson on Thursday said in a statement to The Hill on Tuesday, "We're able to manufacture hundreds of millions of doses using our engineered cell line system and look forward to delivering those doses around the world to help meet critical needs." The statement also noted that vaccines uses the inactivated, non-infective adenovirus vector, similar to cold viruses, that codes for coronavirus spike S protein, and that there is no fetal tissue in the vaccine itself. The Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, which is available in the United States, is also an adenovirus vector vaccine that has been developed from kidney cell lines derived from a fetus aborted in 1973. The Epoch Times has contacted Johnson & Johnson for comment, and at this time they have not received a response. This is very interesting, in my opinion. To be honest with you, I am pro-life. However, if there's going to be any positive outcome to abortions, then why not be able to use cells and different things being used to help people with Parkinson's and different diseases that these cells can help with. I mean, don't get me wrong, it still bothers me that people even have abortions, but where they are legal, use what you can. And I know a lot of people won't agree with that, but I know that if I had Parkinson's and they could use different cell lines that came from aborted fetuses, then to make me feel better, I would use it. So did everybody hear today hear about Kamala Harris yesterday being a tie-breaking vote so that they can debate that bill in the Senate? I really hope enough Democrats side with the Republicans and not let this omnibus bill go through, because they are going to change elections everywhere, and it needs to be stopped. And maybe a lot of states, if they do, maybe a lot of states will say, go screw yourself, federal government. We have states' rights, and this is how we're going to run our voting. So so I'm trying. For some reason, I cannot get my comments to work on YouTube, on Facebook. This is really weird. So I'll have to type it in here. Yeah, thanks, Linda. I do feel better. So what else do we got going on here? Oh, well, I thought it was quite interesting. Did you see the big storming of the Capitol yesterday on the 4th? I didn't either. None of that happened. These freaking Congress, they're crazy. They are. I think they've lost their mind, to be honest with you. They wanted a false flag, is what they wanted to do. And I'm sure a lot of people fell for it. I think a lot of people that on the left fell for it, thinking that there was going to be this big event that happened on March 4th. They're just stupid idiots. Stupid, stupid people. We have them everywhere. Hey, so how's everybody doing? Hey, Jack. Hey, Georgie. Hey, Linda. I'm glad you guys are all watching. Today will be a short Friday. So there was an article that came out yesterday in the Epoch Times, which I hadn't seen, but Liz Cheney, there's a Wyoming state lawmaker who's going to challenge Liz Cheney in 2020 for the GOP primary. Hey, Mary. Glad you're here. A Wyoming state lawmaker announced he'll challenge Liz Cheney on November 3rd, Republican in the House during the 2022 GOP primary for a seat. State Rep Chuck Gray, a Republican, made an announcement on social media. It's time for a leader who actually listens to hardworking people of Wyoming and not the DC elitists, he wrote in a tweet. Join me on my journey as I seek the Republican nomination for the Republican State Congress. In his announcement, Gray criticized Cheney after she joined House Democrats in impeaching former President Donald Trump in January following her vote. Several Republican lawmakers, Trump surrogates, and former president himself suggested she be primaried. Yeah, and honestly, don't you think that all these rhinos need to be primaried? I do. I don't know anybody in Wyoming, but if there's anybody in Wyoming that has to be watching, get me some information on this Republican that wants to run against her. So that way we can put out as much stuff as we possibly can on Chuck Gray to find out if he's a good guy or a bad guy. Good guy or a bad guy? We just never know. So, are you guys all up for a good laugh? You know how much I love, just love Nancy Pelosi, right? I'm only kidding. But I found this video and it cracked me up. You ready? Give me 1 second because I have to take something off of here. right, here we go. I'm going to hit play.
In order to open these doors, we do not say open sesame. We say open Biden. That's our magic word.
True.
Open Biden. I love it.
She's
In
tapped.
order to open these doors, we do not say open sesame. We say open Biden. That's our magic word.
True.
Open Biden. I love it.
Oh my God, she is so freaking wacky. Open Biden. Are you kidding me? What is wrong with this chick? Oh my God. I can't stand her. I just can't. That was really good. I needed that laugh this morning. She just look evil? She does. She looks evil. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. So, I know all my friends that are out there right now feel the same way about these mask mandates and being shut down everywhere. And I am going to play another quick video. Oh my God. Georgie, that was funny. Creepy Biden might think open Biden means something else as he leans in to sniff you. Oh, that's good. That's good. All right, so to get back to this video, we got small businesses that are trying to stay open, and this this came out from ABC 15 in Arizona. So let me get this over to you and play it for you.
Well, small businesses have struggled to survive during the pandemic. They're doing what they can to stay open. But hope and help is still popping up. You just got to know where to look. Our Carla Navarrete is live with one business that opened only 2 months before everything shut down. What a tough time for her it must have been, Carla.
Does this make everybody else laugh? Watching these news anchors that are outside and they're probably 6 feet away from their cameraman. Well, the cameraman probably has a mask on. Take your fucking mask off, will ya? Oh my God.
Oh, definitely. Patricia Gonzalez tells us she was able to open up her business all thanks to her savings and a gift from her son. And now, Allison, she says she's counting on that loan from Chicanos por la Causa to take the next step. Take a listen.
They say attitude is the little thing that makes a big difference.
You can come in here, I can fix anything.
After spending 25 years as a nurse, Patricia Gonzalez decided to open up her own alteration shop. Fabrics, spools of thread, sewing machines, and stitching. It's, after all, in her blood. Her mother, she says, taught her all she knows.
She say, okay, you can help me, but if you don't do it very good, stitch, I can take it off.
And after 2 months of opening up Alteration's Best Stitch, Patricia Gonzalez did all she could to stay open as everything around her was shutting down.
And put my sign on the corner and the people coming here just for the mask. ¿Cómo se dice salvación?
Was my salvation. The masks were your salvation.
My salvation.
As business is slowly getting back to where it once was, Patricia says there's another salvation that's helping keep her business open and her spirits up.
The webinar from Chicanos por la Causa was my medication because I feel really sad, very sad.
Gonzalez is participating in a new loan program between Chicanos por la Causa and Wells Fargo, where $5 million.
Okay, so we know a lot of small businesses got loans, but did that help all of these restaurants that are never going to come back? Ever? What's Fenway going to look like, everybody? With all those restaurants being gone, all those food vendors that you would see when you went to a game that aren't there. These draconian governors, the damage that they have done to our state, other states. I mean, look at New York, just for an example, and how vibrant New York City was with all their Broadway shows and all these places for visitors to come and see, the restaurants. You go to downtown Boston, and where the theater district, that's all shut down. There's nothing. And you're going to have, in these places, vagrants just going and squatting in these closed businesses. Crime's going to go up. And especially, I mean, we know what happened in New York, but in Massachusetts alone, you've got a DA who is so into Black Lives Matter, and she doesn't want certain charges to be prosecuted. These crimes are just going to get worse and worse. And it's going to keep people away from Boston. And it goes even further than that. I have a lot of friends that own businesses. Luckily, most of them have somewhat recovered. Excuse me. But some have had to lay off employees because they can't afford it. They got the small business loan in the beginning, and that wasn't enough to keep their businesses going or to keep employees on. So they paid them for so long, and people were out on unemployment, still on unemployment. March 13th, I think, ends a lot of people's unemployment benefits. Instead of getting more stuff extended, just open the freaking state up, will you? And let everybody make their own decisions. People know how to take care of themselves. And like I've said in many of my videos, yes, I've been very lucky that I haven't gotten COVID. I know nobody that has died from COVID. And I know a lot of people in the nursing homes died, or when they got somebody in a hospital and put them on a ventilator, that's when they died, when they didn't need to be on a vent. But let people make up their own minds. If you're afraid to go out without a mask, then just put a mask on and go out. People that don't want to wear masks, leave us alone. We can shop. We don't need people yelling at us, put your mask on. They've made people into Karens, huge Karens. Yep, and that's a good point, Georgie. We the people should never allow the government to pull another stunt like this, but it but it can't happen until people wake up. Yeah, and there's a lot of sheep out there. And then you have the media who just pushed this and scared the hell out of everybody. Now, I know there's a lot of friends out there that travel, and the travel industry is expecting increases over spring break. Now, here's a thing that I talked to somebody about the other day. Spring break. Now, when I was in college, I went to Florida for spring break, and we did a lot of partying with a ton of people we don't know, and I mean, huge, going into bars, and you couldn't even move because there was so many people. Well, people are going to go to spring break in Florida again. Then you're going to have people just flying to different destinations, and people are going to go to where they know that they can have a good time. Watch all of a sudden, after spring break is over, I give it 2 weeks, and all of a sudden the numbers are going to go back up mysteriously. And governors are going to start to turn it to shut everything down again because of this. This is a game they're going to be playing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Like I saw something this morning with Fauci talking about the masks, and he said we're going to be wearing them into the fall and probably the end of 2021, maybe possibly into 2022, because new strains are going to come out, and then in the winter, people are closed up again. So they're going to try to play this game with us back and forth and back and forth. Well, I hope that more people start to wake up at how fake this is. Not saying that there's no virus, because there is a virus. But it's not as devastating now as it was when they first got it, because they didn't know how to handle it. And then if you have enough people that are quote unquote vaccinated, why would it still be dangerous? I don't understand it. And if they expect 80% of the population will be vaccinated, then everybody should be fine. You shouldn't need masks anymore. And I'm going to play this quick article. Well, this video, I'm sorry. From, what is it from? KMTV 3 News. And it has to do with the traveling that's going to be coming up.
March is here, which means spring break is just around the corner. Kids are rejoicing. Well, last year, traveling, of course, came to a screeching halt due to the pandemic, forcing many to cancel trips and lock down at home. 3 News Now reporter Kent Lutzen joins us live from Epley Airfield this morning with more about how spring break 2021 will be much different. Kent, good morning.
Good morning, Cerise and Jenny. That's right. A year ago, we were here at the airport watching flights from Wuhan, China come in with people in hazmat suits coming off of them. And of course, now we're talking about spring break. And last year's spring break, we didn't know much about the coronavirus. And now, thanks to science, we definitely have the knowledge. And of course, we have the vaccine, making traveling this spring break a little more encouraging than last. But of course, last year, the travel industry took a major hit due to the pandemic, and they still really haven't come back. Nonetheless, travel agencies are seeing a slight uptick in travel plans, especially those wanting a spring break. Currently, the industry is having a major debate, considering a way for people to prove they've been vaccinated against COVID-19. Kevin O'Malley, CEO of Corporate Travel Management, says vaccine passports could determine, who can travel, stay at home, or even visit a bar.
People are saying, well, now that the vaccination's rolling out, if I am vaccinated, is that enough? Do I need a negative COVID test because I have the vaccine? And right now it's not enough. So right now they're saying, even if you're vaccinated, you still could be a carrier of COVID. We don't know for sure. Therefore, we need the negative COVID test.
Israel is already using the vaccine passports, and the European Union just proposed them. The United States is still thinking about it. Now, Jenny and Cerise, the Omaha Eppley Airfield is preparing for an influx in travelers over the spring break time, and they're doing that with consultation.
So, what do you think of that? Do you think the vaccines are a huge hoax? If that's not enough, that you still need a negative COVID test? That they're going to have COVID passports that prove that you have the vaccine? I mean, I understand if you're going to another country with another country, you have to be vaccinated against certain diseases. So I guess you kind of could do that, but that would be one way to force people into getting a vaccine. I still don't want the vaccine.
With the University of Nebraska Medical Center to make sure travelers have the safest experience. They're upping their cleaning, they're having the cleanest technology, and they're also using mobile boarding passes to make sure there's no transfer of paperwork. Reporting live in Omaha, I'm Kent Lutzen, 3 News Now.
March is here, which means spring break.
So, I'm not going to talk too much more about COVID and the vaccines, because if I do, Facebook will hit me up again with I violated their community guidelines. YouTube will hit me up too because of it. So I'm still getting a little nervous with Governor Baker, because I don't trust the guy. But I actually found out last night or yesterday that somebody that I know was backing a candidate that was running against Charlie Baker in 2018. And it actually kind of horrified me when I looked this guy up. I don't know if any of my Massachusetts friends remember Scott Lively. A veteran of the anti-gay movement, Lively has been an active propagandizing against LGBT people since the early 1990s, but he perhaps best known for co-writing the thoroughly discredited Holocaust revisionist book, The Pink Swastika, Homosexuality in the Nazi Party 1995, which claims that the Nazi Party was full of gay men who, because of their savagery, were able to carry out a Holocaust. And this guy's very, very anti-gay. In 2007, he co-founded the Anti-Gay Watchman on the walls an organization currently active more in Eastern Europe than in the U.S. More recently, he got a new claim to fame when he presented his horrible views about homosexuality at the 2009 anti-gay conference in Uganda that was widely believed to have played a role in drafting Uganda's notorious Kill the Gays bill. Lively is president of Abiding Truth Ministries and director of Redemption Gate Mission Society, both currently based in Springfield, Massachusetts. And this was in his own words. Because no matter what, homosexuality is still is abnormal, wrong, harmful, and perverse. There is no question that homosexuality figures prominently in the history of the Holocaust. The first years of terrorism against the Jews were carried out by homosexuals. I started reading this last night about this guy, and it really was just starting to really piss me off. How I did not hear about this in 2018, I don't know. Somehow it was really quiet, but I am really floored that somebody I know backed this guy. It's not mere coincidence that the emperors of Rome in its horrific final days were homosexual, that Adolf Hitler's inner circle were mostly homosexual, and that merely all the most prolific serial killers in U.S. history were homosexual. If not mere coincidence that the America's cultural decline parallels the rise of gay rights. Agents of Death's Agenda, May 1996. Edition of Life Advocate magazine quoted in Northwest Update, Coalition for Human Dignity, June 1996. So this guy, he ran against Charlie Baker. And as much as I can't stand Charlie Baker, I'm glad he won. Because if this guy had ever gotten into office, horrible, oh my God, what he would have pushed. So hopefully he stays in the background. And it'd be interesting if we could find out or if the group that like to harass us Trump supporters when we're out doing our standouts, if they could find where he lives and that they can go protest in front of his house instead of the police station or at Charlie Baker's house. I mean, am I glad that they do, because he thinks that he's a dictator. But go to Springfield and go out and protest in front of this guy's house. It's just horrible with this, that there are still people out there that still feel that way about LGBT people. Now I understand if your religion, you don't agree with it, but most Christians that I know, and I happen to be friends with a lot of them, they still love me. They still are a part of my life. It's not something that they agree with, but they accept me as a person. And in all honesty, I just think that this guy needs to be canceled. instead of other Republicans out there being canceled because they're trying to equate what's happening in the United States about what happened in Germany to the Jewish community and the brown shirts and all that. But this guy's left alone. I don't get it. I don't. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. So there's a lot of other stuff going on too. I watch a lot of OANN stuff, and I do kind of like Tom Fitton, but some days he irritates me. And I hadn't seen him out in a while, but we've got a video from him, and he's talking about how emails show how President Trump was right about China and the WHO. So I'm going to play this real quick for you.
Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton says new emails obtained through the Freedom of Information Act show President Trump was right about a seemingly cozy relationship between the World Health Organization and China. One America's John Hines spoke with Fitton and has more from Washington.
What have you managed to find out in your request for some of these email messages going between the Chinese, the WHO, and the National Institute of Health, specifically Dr. Fauci's office?
Well, we were interested, specifically the Daily Caller News Foundation had asked for emails from the early days of the COVID crisis about WHO and China and such, and they got the runaround. So we sued for the emails, specifically Dr. Fauci and his top deputy, Dr. Lane. And for instance, just recently, we released new emails that show Dr. Lane had to sign a confidentiality agreement, the terms of which were dictated by China. Literally, the phrase of the email says, we can't use the old forms. We have to use these forms because they've been tailored to China's terms.
So you're talking particularly about a confidentiality agreement that he signed, which was, I guess, written with influence from the Chinese. Is that what we're talking about here?
Well, according to the document, the confidentiality agreement was tailored to China's terms. We don't have the agreement, but certainly that email is troubling. There's other emails showing that the Chinese had the ability to approve or disapprove certain public statements that were being made by WHO involving NIH as well. And I don't know about...
So, we all know our Donald Trump is usually right about everything that he has said over and over again about this virus and the WHO and how the WHO is beholden to China. This is crazy.
About you, John, but I don't want the Chinese dictating how and the circumstances and what information the United States government can share with the American people about COVID. And these documents seem to suggest that was the case.
Well, it's interesting. Also, there's another email dated February 15th, 2020. It says the head of the WHO offices in China informs a joint mission members traveling to China that all of their activities in China would be arranged by the Chinese government's National Health Commission. And I'm curious, it seems, I guess, remarkable that there would be American officials going over there to look at perhaps where COVID-19 originated from, potentially trying to get information about the origins of the virus, and yet they were basically led around by the Chinese, apparently. What do you make of that Mr. Fitton?
Well, in some ways, it's not surprising. It's the Chinese Communists, after all. They run the country, and they're not going to have a delegation that doesn't have their involvement. But it highlights the constraints under which Western observers and scientists were operating under when they went to China to try to figure out what was up and what was down on COVID.
What do you make of perhaps the Biden administration's change of policy with regard to the WHO, particularly in light of these emails?
So, is this really going to prove how much dementia patient in the office of the former president is in China's pocket? Let's hear.
That Judicial Watch has been able to get from the National Institute of Health.
Trump was right to pull the United States out of WHO. And these documents show that he was right. And President Biden, rather than consider carefully WHO's role in helping China disseminate propaganda about COVID, they just let the anti-Trump craziness take over, and now we're back in bed with China through WHO. It's outrageous.
Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch, thank you for joining us on One American News, sir. It's good to get.
Honestly, China is so happy because of Biden being in office. They could control all this stuff all over again, get all this propaganda out there. And it really... It floors me that most people don't see it. Most of my friends see it, but you say this to somebody on the left, they do not see how bad China is controlling everything, the media. And if you look at what's going on with big tech, they're all in China's pocket too. I'm convinced, because of the way they're stopping thing. Hey, Margot, I'm glad you're on. Just saw ya. But, oh, this is awesome. You saw the video that I did last week, that I had excerpts from Ron Paul going after, the Secretary of Health, Regina. I think that's her name, because I want to call her Richard, but I think it's Regina. A lot of states are really starting to step up here. They have, they're trying to block all of I'm sorry, I can't read into two things at the same time. But a lot of states are starting to step in and override executive orders coming from the Biden administration. Alabama Senate approves ban on hormone therapy for kids. Thank God, because these kids cannot make these decisions. So I'm going to play this.
A bill that would ban minors from having transgender surgery in Alabama has passed the state Senate. The bill is sponsored by Republican Senator Shay Shelnut of Trussville. Along with banning surgery, it would also ban the prescription of puberty-blocking medications and sex-change hormones used as transgender therapies for minors. Earlier in the day, there was a rally against the bill and a similar measure in the House.
Until you've been in the situation, you will never understand it. And also that these anti-trans bills will increase suicide and will increase suicide amongst the transgender communities, as well as increase hate crimes towards the transgender communities.
The bill now goes to the House for consideration.
Now, I don't agree with that. Yeah, you may have some transgendered individuals who may commit suicide, and that's unfortunate. And it's not going to cause hatred towards them. And like I said in my video, if you have a child who believes that they should have been a boy all along, let them dress and act like it. And then when they're old enough to make that decision on their own, to have the surgery and go through everything, they're an adult. They can make that decision. And in all honesty, like, they have the fact that they even are going to allow transgendered into the military, that scares me, because if you're on the front line, okay, how can you honestly be out there with, you don't have doctors with you, you can't have your medication. If you're fighting, like we will be back in the Middle East, because, you know, Biden's going to send everybody back over. How can you get your medication, have your hormone replacement therapies and all of that? It's not going to work. And that's where, if any of your brothers in arms next to you find out that you are not the sex you're supposed to be, they won't protect you. And you're putting transgendered people into a very dangerous situation. And I have a hard time with it. But with the kids, they don't know any better. They really don't. It just makes me, it just makes my head spin. I can't. Okay, so this is going to be, I think, my last thing I'm going to bring up today. Arizona sheriff is asked about Biden's migrant crisis, and his response is brutal. So we can all listen to this together. And let's bring it on over.
Well, the new administration's decision to stop border wall construction has forced crews to put down tools, this kills me, and walk away in the middle of work. By the way, this is a wall we already paid for, a decision that one Arizona sheriff says left behind a roadway for smugglers. Sheriff Mark Daniels is in charge of Cochise County, which covers 83 miles of the U.S.-Mexican border. He joins us now. Sheriff, we paid for the wall to be built, along with the technology and along with the roads. Now we're paying to move the wall, store the wall, or destroy the wall. And guess what? The illegals, according to what you're telling us, are...
Oh, this is awesome. You can tell where this is going. And I can't wait for his response.
Actually using it to get into the country. In what way?
Well, good morning, Brian. It's a product of politics within policing, and I've always said this: that has no business in the business of policing and what we do on this border in our communities. When President Biden rescinded the emergency order on the southwest border, it stopped resources and stopped construction on our border. As a result of that, one area where the fence is not complete, we get 5 or 6 groups a day coming across there. It's opened up the border. It opened up the mess. Okay, to come in this country. This administration owns this decision, and what it's doing is it's forcing us back to 2019, where we had the largest, what I call, crime scene in the country, to include the largest humanitarian situation going on.
And this was all done just to say F you to Donald Trump. I don't understand how anybody in office can allow this stuff to happen. They don't have to deal with it. They're not down at the border watching this.
So what we're seeing is stills that you guys sent us. How did you get these pictures? What should everyone at home know about these pictures?
These pictures come off we have our own camera system that works collective with the CBP. These pictures I'm showing you came off our camera system, where you see the smuggling coming through our deserts. It's wide open right now. It's wide open, and with the chaos going on the border based on these administrative decisions, and it just, we saw this in 2019, Brian, where 141 countries breached our southwest border in the first 9 months, over 1,000 gang members, 822 assaults on agents, 271 deaths on our border. This is a crime scene, and this is what we just put together. We had it under control. This is frustrating, and now it's going back to 2019. It's frustrating.
So they had it under control. And these freaking people in office making it a dangerous situation for the Border Patrol agents, for the people that live in those areas.
I mean, I don't want to get you into politics, but we just fired 15,000 people working in a pipeline that had zero impact on the environment. And then he went over to the border, which was working, and blew it up on pure political purposes. It made your life miserable. It made our country, put our country in greater danger. Keep in mind some of these numbers, and these numbers don't lie. Border encounters in the fiscal year 2021, 71,922 in October, 72,091 in November, 73,000 in December, 78,000 in January. That's almost 300,000. Now look, in 2014, Vice President Joe Biden said when there were 68,000 border crossing, unaccompanied minors crossing, they said it was a crisis. He called it a tragedy. That was 188 per day. Today we're projected to have 117,000.
Can you believe these freaking numbers? This is unbelievable. And I know I say unbelievable a lot. I got to come up with new words because this kind of crap. Oh my God, does this make me mad? Mad, mad, mad.
This year, what's he going to call it then? What changed?
Well, politics changed. Politics changed. Ideologies changed. It's hypocritical, to be honest with you, Brian. What we've seen in the past and where we're at today, it's very hypocritical by this administration. It goes against the grain of the CDC. I would love to hear Dr. Fauci, who nobody is talking about what's going on the southwest border when it comes to the health pandemic in this country. They are not testing them. They're being released.
Right. They're not testing them. And then we're going to pay for their medical expenses. The numbers are all going to go up again. Unbelievably so high. Oh my God, it makes me so mad. So mad.
Without being tested into communities. And then you look at the public safety aspect of this. It's upsetting. It's almost like we're not part of this country, which is very upsetting.
Yeah, it's what's in the best interest of the country. When's the last time one asked you if you were a Democrat or Republican? It's nothing to do with it. It is just one's right and one's wrong. And you say this Remain in Mexico policy, which has now been blown up, you say that the new proposal by the Mexican leader could bring 600 to 800,000 Mexican and Central American illegal immigrants a year coming here?
Yes. To give you an example, Brian, of just our camera system, which is up to 1,000 cameras. We deploy 700 at a time. A year ago today, we were running, just in our camera system, 300 to 400 a month. In August, when the politics kicked up, we jumped up to 1,200 a month. In December, it was over 2,500 entries to illegal entries, let me say, to include over 500 pounds of illicit drugs. I just got the charts the other day. It's skyrocketing back to numbers we saw in 2019. The reason we have MPP and these other programs President Trump put in place was because of 2019 caravan and surges. It worked. It's not working now.
This sheriff needs to go to the White House with a bunch of other Border Patrol agents, ones that are high up, to give them the numbers and all the stuff that's going on and show them the videos. And
yep.
They just, this is outrageous.
Sheriff, I feel bad for how your life's changed because of pure politics. Sheriff Mark Daniels, please, if the Biden people show up, tell them the truth that you just told our audience. Sheriff, thanks so much.
Okay, everybody. I got silent there for a second. I am so sorry. And it's all because it just blows my mind how, because of politics and because of your hatred of one president, this stuff is happening. How about all the people on the pipeline workers? They're committing suicide because they have nothing. They've lost everything. Boom. In an instant, you have no job. They're going to be losing their houses, their cars, everything, because of this asshole in the office of president. It makes me so mad. But then you bring all these illegals in, allowing them to come in. They have COVID. They're making other people sick. Texas, Arizona, the numbers are going to skyrocket. And what are they doing? They're allowing them into red states because they want to punish these governors. I'm convinced that's what they want to do. Despicable human being. All of them in Washington, they're all despicable. Disgusting. I'm going to end it here, everybody. I hope you have a great day. I got a lot of stuff to do. My friends that I will possibly see tonight, I will see you tonight. Have a good day.